Balotelli, Aguero!
Welcome back to the On the Ball podcast. I've actually decided to stop the episode count because I always just get it wrong anyway, so we'll just move on, but that's just my habit now. But we're back again for another AFL episode, and we have the boys.
146.
Oh, because it is. It's not quite. It's close, but it actually could be because I'm doing a Euros episode, and there's about 5 of them, so because it took too long. So, it could be 146, could be 136, but so the boys are back. Pilch, Rowie, how are we, mate?
I'm great, mate. I'm ready to absolutely slate some players. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Pilch, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. As you can tell, I've actually jumped ship this week. I'm now Swans fan with the Swans beanie. So, little update for you two boys.
Bit of a stiff week to get on them as they've just beaten Rowie's side. But anyway,
that's why I got on them.
Yeah, coincidence, yeah.
So what today is? It's the mid-season awards episode, and I'm absolutely pumped for it. Ready to fucking rip and tear, as they say in the trade. There could be a few expletives this episode because I'm pumped. I'm in my Origin gear, as you can't tell. It's a good day to be alive. We're coming out of lockdown tomorrow, apparently. I actually haven't even read the news, but I've been told by family members. So that's good. The weather's absolutely shit, but we'll take it on. But we're going to get right into our awards, finish with a few predictions of round 13 as well, but mainly going to be an awards episode. We've got some good categories. We've got like best trade and free agency pickup. Also got coach of the season so far, rising star of the season so far, most improved, best and fairest so far. And then famously last year, probably the GOAT episode, when we named our mid-season All-Australian teams, highlighted by some disgraceful selections by me. This year, my team's a lot better. I don't know. I reckon Shane Savage was definitely mid-year because I feel like...
he was.
Yeah, maybe Will Snelling was end of year, but I actually don't know. But yeah, I know the Shane Savage one was mid-season, so there was just some disgraceful ones in there. I think it's actually at the start of the episode in the little intro video, everyone's reaction to me saying it when everyone's heads just went into hands. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But first of all, boys, some of the smaller awards. Best trade and free agency pickup. I don't know if you've got one for each or just one in overall, Rowie. What have you gone with here?
I've sort of got 3 written down, but I think I've sort of got the main sort of bargain one, given how little he was traded for and how much he's contributed to his team. So I've gone Nick from behind. So I think it was Hind and pick 77 traded for pick 67 to 74. Obviously, I think all those other picks were passed, so it was just Hind, basically a free agency move, really. But it was stupid from St Kilda. We drafted him as a running halfback. We played him as a half forward, and then obviously couldn't get much of a go at it. He was often in rotation with the likes of Loney and Bedlong and Gresham and all that. So unfortunately, he was the one that had to go, and now they're playing him in his proper position, and he's obviously thriving. So it was a very good pickup from the Bombers. He'd obviously played in their VFL team. That's where he was drafted from originally, so they knew a lot about him. They knew that he was a very good get. So given he's probably in their top 5 best and fairest, and they've got him in for basically nothing, he's definitely the pick of the bunch for me. I think the likes of Aliir has been really good for Port as well, and Tom Hickey for the Swans, but I'll go Nick Hind as the best trade.
Yeah, I think that would be the consensus pick. Pilch, do you agree with that, or do you have another shout?
Great pick, but I've gone someone else. I've actually gone one free agent and one actual trade. So my free agent was Joe Danaher. He was a pretty obvious choice in there. There weren't that many good ones. And then the trade, I've actually gone with Tom Hickey. There were heaps of picks involved with that trade. I think there were like 4 different pick swaps, but I think it equated to like a future 3rd rounder or something. And he's just been huge for the Swans, huge reason for their success this season, and arguably the 4th best ruckman in the comp this year after the big 3.
Yep, they're very, very, very fair shouts. Most of my awards, well, pretty much every single one is based off my voting system that I do, and I've done it up to round 10 because I didn't have time to do round 11 and 12, so excuse that. But the trade, the person who got traded last year, who's picked up the most votes, is actually Adam Treloar. So I guess you could give it to him. But yeah, value, I'd probably have to go Nick Hind because he basically went for nothing. Nick Hines picked up 5 votes, so he was right up there. But yeah, Treloar's picked up 9. He started the season very, very well, albeit in a bit of a different role, playing a bit more half-forward flank than he ever has before, as they've just got so many good players in the guts. Yeah, for free agency, not many. Joe Danaher is probably the main shout. Isaac Smith's also been hand in. He's been big in a couple games for Geelong. Witherden hasn't played that much, but he's also had a few good games in replacing Shannon Hearn when he went down with injury. Coach of the Year, there's a few shouts this year. I actually think this is really hotly contested. It's usually a tough award to pick. I'm probably going to lead off with the obvious candidate, Simon Goodwin. I think he was probably one of the most under pressure coaches going into the season, and they currently sit 11-1 on top of the ladder, looking a serious chance of getting. They're probably going to get home finals, and yeah, it's just a really good time to be a Melbourne fan right now. Everything around the club's positive. They've got a good young crop of players, and I guess you could argue they've been underperforming the last couple of seasons, but still for him to turn that last year around and turn them into a premiership contender, pretty incredible. So, Rowie, do you want to get around Goody or anyone else?
Yeah, I think you summed up Goodwin very nicely there. He's probably the pick of the bunch there as well. Obviously, getting Melbourne from one of those sort of end of the, sort of contending for the top 8 finishes teams right up to number 1. So that's obviously really good from him. I've also got the likes of Bevo, who's obviously in a similar position. I like the fact that we all know Bevo, particularly in Supercoach, loves to switch around the magnets on the whiteboard. But I think the likes of, chucking Bailey Dale, obviously, to halfback has obviously really, really helped them, showing how much of a quality player he is, and moving Caleb Daniel sort of around the ground and just making him contribute everywhere, which has been really nice. Not for Supercoach early on, but is proven to be all right now, especially in the absence of Dunkley and Treloar. One such coach that has done that even more so is Ben Rutten. Obviously, the Bombers were touted to be bottom 4 by just about everyone. And now they're, the words finals are being whispered around them. Obviously, a pretty long shot, but you never know in the AFL season. They're coming along really nicely. And on the weekend, if that game was played in 3 quarters, Essendon's right in there. So, I think the fact that they've played Nick Hind from halfback, he's been a revelation for them. They've moved Carl Langford into the middle, Pilcher's boy. He's been awesome for them. Obviously, Darcy Parish as well has gone into the midfield. So a lot of these sort of switching the magnets has really helped them. I think Jane Laverty has gone down back as well. They've chucked around the magnets, as I said, and in a season that they weren't expecting much out of, it's obviously been really beneficial for them. They've realised how good some players can be in these positions that they weren't originally played in. So I think Ben Rutten's been one of the unsung heroes of the year in terms of coaches. John Longmire as well for the Swans has been awesome. Getting the Swans up from one of those sort of we talked a lot about the sort of glut of teams going from sort of 8 to 9 to about 14. I think the Swans were deep in there with the likes of Freo and Gold Coast, but they've leapt out. They leapt out straight away from that into the top 8, especially with the likes of their young guns they brought in, and the likes of Tom Hickey and all that, who are all stepping up. And I think Longmire was one of the reasons for that happening. So I think he's also been awesome for the Swans.
Yeah, agree with all of those shouts. Pilch, who are you going with?
Yeah, a few good shouts there, but I'm going to have to go with John Longmire as my coach of the year. The man's just been a proven coach for so long, and he's done it again. He's rebuilt in 1 year. Arguably, may not have even had to have rebuilt if they had Franklin and Heaney last year, but we'll never know. But I mean, yeah, they're definitely playing finals and honestly look like a threat. They've beaten a few good sides, so who knows, mate? Who knows?
Yeah, I've been critical of Horse in the past and definitely think he's a contender for Coach of the Year. Yeah, I don't know. So, I feel bad for North and St Kilda and Carlton and Melbourne fans when they look at a team rebuild in a year. It must just be so frustrating to see. But, he's done it very, very well. We'll go the Rising Star. I think this will be the last award we do before we get into our All-Australian team because our most improved and Brownlows might be spoiled by our teams. Rising Star, I'll be honest, my voting system doesn't work for the Rising Star because very rarely do they get in the best 5 on the park. So you can easily win my Rising Star with one good performance, and that's exactly what's happened here. Thankfully, it's not like a Jacob Kashitsky or something. Love saying Kashitsky, but it's just definitely not Kashitsky, is it? But I'll keep saying it like that. I think he got 3 votes for that game in Tassie, but thankfully he didn't get it. Chad Warner picked up 4 votes, and he is my winner so far, all from his round 1 performance, which saw him leap into Supercoach fame, and that's basically all everyone knows him for. Apart from that, he's pretty mythical. Watched them on the weekend, hardly saw him, and I think he's injured now, going to be rested this week apparently. He's picked up the most votes for me in the Rising Star, but I do obviously accept that my voting system doesn't work for the Rising Star. Pilch, do you want to start us off with the Rising Star, mate?
I was looking at the odds and I was actually surprised at how low my bloke was. Firstly, the obvious choice is Georgiadis, but I haven't gone him. I've gone a bit left field. So I've gone with James Jordan as my Rising Star. I think he's been really solid for the Ds all year, contributing a lot. I think he's played every game, and the bloke's a gun.
Yeah, do you think so? Team success comes into account, obviously, with the All-Australian. Do you think that'll play a factor in the Rising Star?
Well, I reckon it does a bit, not as much as the other awards, but that's why I was even more surprised at how low his odds were. High, however you want to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that shout at all. He's a pressure act and tackling beast.
There you go, as well as racking up touches.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with the James Jordan one. I had 2 names written down, and he was one of them. He's obviously been awesome for the D's this year, and he's managed to cement himself into that star-studded lineup. He's also 3rd in the AFL for tackles, which is awesome I think he was drafted a few years ago, but yeah, he's 3rd in the AFL for tackles. Obviously, they've played that extra game against a few of the teams, but he's still 8th in average for tackles. So he's coming on really, really nicely. The other one is obviously Nick Cox, the AFL's fanboy at the moment, who I was with for a few hours at Portsea Hotels next to him on the dance floor. So that was great vibes. He's basically my best mate. So, he's been awesome for them. The absolute stick, just running around and not getting blown over by the wind. But yeah, in all seriousness, he's awesome. He's awesome to watch. And at 200 centimeters, which apparently everyone needs to be reminded of every second, he's just doing everything on the park. So that's awesome from him. And I think in the future, I don't know if he says he wants to eventually become a key position prospect, which is probably fair enough at that height. But yeah, I think he's such a damaging weapon for them already. And that draft for Essendon looks like it's going to be really nice with him and Perkins and Zach Reid in there as well. So I think Nick Cox will probably take away the Rising Star Award at the end of the year, but at the moment I'll probably have to have him just ahead of James Jordan by the skin of his teeth. But yeah, at the same time, Jordan's been awesome. But yeah, those 2 are the clear front runners for me.
Yeah, definitely rate that shout. Like, with the greatest respect, and he's achieved more in his life than me already, but he is a fucking weird looking bloke. I can't lie. He's just got the most bizarre build, but I'm sure he'll grow into it and get jacked. But anyway, time for the all important All Australian boys. I reckon this year we just go our own teams at a time. So it might be a little bit quicker than last time, but I think last time it got a bit confusing because, someone might be in a halfback line and then that player will be in someone else's fullback line. And it was a little bit hard to track. So I think it might be easier if we just go at one at a time and reel off the whole team. So it probably will be over pretty fast. But so keep your ears peeled. I'll start us off like I do with my redrafting so you guys can pick me up on any disgraceful calls. But I think my team is actually okay this year. It's a lot better. I've still done it based on my votes, so there are some debatable picks. I've I had a rule that you had to have at least a minimum of 8 votes to be in contention. So, there's not like anyone. So I've tried to get positions, like I've tried to get wingers, tried to get legit half forwards and forward pockets, but they're not like disgraceful like Will Snelling. So, all right, moving into my fullback line, I've got Tommy Stewart in a back pocket. He's just been ever reliable as he always is. Great distributor of the footy, loves an effective kick and a rebound 50. Not sure about his defensive capabilities. Like, I'll be honest, don't watch Geelong every week. But I've got him in there. But I have picked another tall defender because I'm not sure if he is good enough to count as a key defender. So I've gone with Jake Lever. Big reason why Melbourne are doing so well this year and have one of the best defenses in the comp. Him and Stephen May have been elite. He has, and a bit like Harris Andrews, a really impressive knack to not only lock down a defender, but also peel off and intercept balls coming into the 50 and into dangerous spots, which is really key. So he's my fullback. And then in the other back pocket, I know he plays for the worst team in the comp, and the ball is there at all times. So his stats are they're unbelievable. Jack Zeeble, obviously everyone knows him as he's been a Supercoach god this year, but statistically too good to ignore for me. He is sitting 14th in my Brownlow tally. Halfbacks, I've got Daniel Rich. His meters gained every week is just ridiculous. His booming left foot, I swear every time he kicks it, it goes 70. So, I don't know why any Brisbane player would ever take a set shot from around 50 and 60 when you can just handball it off to Rich and he'll kick it for you. And then I've gone with Jordan Ridley. Once again, similar to Stewart, bit hard to know whether he's a legit lockdown defender or more of a distributor, but I've got him in there. Just a very good player for Essendon. Obviously had a great start to the year, and then he's sort of been thrust into a different role in the last few weeks, playing a bit more defensive and actually having an opponent as opposed to just lurking around and getting every kick in that he wants. But had a very good start to the year. Then I've got controversial because he has played a few games forward, but Darcy Moore, I've got him at centre-half back. His start to the season was pretty silly. I think it was those first 5 weeks. I reckon he almost got 5 votes for me every week, which is the maximum you can get for me. He's absolutely killed it, although in a bad team. So I know there are some average teams getting selections here, but that's just how we're going to deal with it. All right, wingers. This one's controversial, all right? Making his debut All-Australian appearance, although it is mid-season. Pilcher's man from Supercoach pre-season. Former pick 1, Jack Lukosius. He is if you look at his stats every week, he's a freak. I can't lie. I don't fucking watch Gold Coast, all right? It just doesn't happen. But he legit has 800 meters gained every week. So he's going to be one of my wingers. I think he's picked up around 10 to 11 votes for them. I think he's sitting second in their BNF for me, behind Took Miller, maybe behind Hugh Greenwood as well, but not sure about that. Then my other winger, plays a bit more inside than Lukosius does, but he's still classed as a winger. Mitch Duncan. I know he hasn't played all 11 or 12 games, depending on, I guess, did Geelong have the bye? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. So, I guess 11 games for Geelong, but still been very, very good when he has played. I think he maybe came back in round 4 or round 5, and he's been awesome since then. So, he's going to be one of my wingers. Then in the middle, I've got my captain. That's not giving away my Brownlow, by the way, but Marcus Bontempelli. He's just a freak, probably top 3 player in the comp, kills it every week for the Dogs. He's just one of those players that I love. You can't watch a game without him. You can't watch a game and not see his impact. It's a bit like Fife. There's a few players, like someone like a Jack McRae, who they get a lot of touches. Well, Tom Mitchell's probably a better example. Jack McRae's a bit stiff there, but you can go watch a Hawthorn game and you might not even notice Tom Mitchell and the impact he has. But Bontempelli is a bit like a Petrarca, like a Fife. His impact is very, very noticeable. Half forward line, this is interesting. I'll be honest, I did not even know this guy plays half forward, but Fan Footy has backed me in here, and it's Jordan Dawson of the Swans. I thought he was a half back, but he must have changed roles or something, according to Fan Footy anyway. He was apparently starting on the half forward flank in about 6 of their games, so I'll be picking him. I think he's winning my Sydney BNF at the moment, which is pretty interesting. But he's picked up 13 or 14 votes for me. He's a free agent next year, actually, so very interested to see where he ends up, or if Sydney hold him, because I know their salary cap as always is fairly tight, as they do pay everyone $1 million. But he's my half forward flanker. My other half forward flanker, I'll be honest, I did not know this guy's played as many games as he has, and it's still side bottom. I thought he came in like round 4 or 5, but I'm pretty sure he only missed one game. Playing for a really bad Collingwood team, but out of the forwards, he's basically just in there because not many forwards rack up votes for me. Well done, side bottom. You don't really deserve it, but anyway. Tex, centre half forward, purely in there because of his first 6 weeks being incredible, but I guess last week he was pretty good as well. I think he'd be in most Australian teams. Hopefully, you boys have got him. Otherwise, that's a bit awkward. But I think he's got to be in there, doesn't he? He's had a great start to the year. And then forward pocket. Now, I'm not actually picking this bloke as a forward pocket, so don't kill me. He's a midfielder, but every AFL team, they rotate midfielders through the forward pocket. Well, not the forward pocket, but forward, you know what I mean? So my vice captain, Dane Zorko, I just think in Lachie Neale's absence, he's gone to another level, and he's probably in the best form of his career. I'd have to say him and Jared Lyons and McCluggage have probably been the most informed midfield in the comp. I know the Dogs are killing it. I know Melbourne's killing it, but those three are just incredible. So he's my vice captain, and he will be rotating into that midfield. Better believe it. Full forward, don't know about this one, but Tomahawk, he's been good as always. I know he's playing for a great team, so he gets a lot of service, but he's just too good to ignore for me. Other forward pocket, probably my favourite player in the AFL, Toby Green. Absolute freak. Huge reason why GWS are in top 8 contention. All their stars have gone down. He has gone down the last month as well, but before that, he was just kicking 5 a week, and he was just legit putting the boys on the back. I think it was the game against the Bulldogs, potentially in Canberra. Everyone else was just playing fucking shit, and every time he got it, he would just kick a goal. It might have been that game. I could be getting mixed up, but it was one of those games, and it was just like, if without him, they're probably losing this by 80, but he's a beast. Right, then moving into the rucks, Natanui is my ruckman. I've only gone one ruckman. Brodie Grundy was my number 2, but just because Collingwood have been so bad this year, I've decided to just go with the 1. So Nick Nat's the ruckman for me. He can do 100% game time. Then my rovers are Libba and Clayton Oliver. Libba might be a rogue shout. He's probably the least talked about Dogs midfielder, but I think he's been really, really good. For them this year, always leads their contested possessions and their clearances pretty much week on week. And then, Clayton Oliver, look, don't really need to explain that. Right up there in the Brownlow odds, and he's an absolute freak. And then my bench, it's a bit weird, but it's basically just midfielders, isn't it? Because there's too many to leave out. So Darcy Parish, obviously, finally gotten his crack at inside mid, and he's been unreal. And I don't want to get roasted by our Essendon Bombers fans who we are mates with if I leave them out. So had to pick him. Petrarca, obviously one of Melbourne's most impactful players, absolute freak. No need to really explain more. McRae, just ridiculous how many touches he racks up. And I thought he wasn't actually in my team, but then I thought the Dogs deserve more than 2 players. So he's in there on my bench. And then I didn't want to have 4 midfielders, so I picked a bit of an outside player, a halfback flanker, winger, Jaden Short. I think he was Richmond's best and fairest last year, and maybe the year before, but he's an absolute beast. As I've said with most of my halfback flankers, loves meters gained, and he's right up there in my votes for Richmond this year. So, I don't think there's anything too rogue in that team. Interested to see how it stacks up with yours, boys. Pilch, do you want to go through yours, mate?
Absolutely, mate. Fullback line. I've also got Stewart in one of the back pockets. Fullback, Aliria. This one is rogue-ish, but he's been an absolute weapon for us. One of the best defenders in the league this season. The other back pocket, Darcy Moore, was tossing up between him and Luke Ryan. And I went with Moore just because I think he can lock down key forwards a little bit better than Ryan can. Halfback line, Christian Salem on one of the halfback flanks. Also really underrated. It was really good to start the year. Has kind of come back down to earth the last couple of weeks, but still been an absolute beast. Harris Andrews, centre half back, pretty self-explanatory. He's pretty much the best key defender every season. And then also Daniel Rich as the other halfback. Centre line, I've got Oliver in the guts. Doesn't need an explanation. Hugh McCluggage on one wing. I think he's been more inside midfield this season, but we'll put him on the wing. And then the other wing, I have chosen a out-and-out pure wingman. There's not many around these days. And obviously, these blokes don't rack up the same numbers as the inside mids, and they're never going to get picked in an actual Australian team. But got to give my boy Carl Amon a shout here. Compared to all the other pure wingmen in the league, he's been clearly the best in the AFL this season. Ed Langdon, a close-ish second probably. But he's elevated his game to another level this season and I would say, be in our top 5 best and fairest pretty easily. Half forward line, I've got on the flanks, the 2 Richmond boys, Bolton and Dusty. Not exactly sure how much time forward Dusty's spent, but he has spent a fair bit. And obviously a down year for him, but he's still been a beast. Just comes up with match-winning moments most weeks. Centre half forward, I've also gone Tomahawk. I've snubbed Harry Mackay in this team. I just think what Hawkins does in a game of footy is just outweighs the goals that Mackay kicks. He just does way more, and you'd rather, even based on this season's form, I'd rather Tom Hawkins as my key forward than Harry Mackay. Full forward line, Toby Green, once again, probably the best forward in the comp of his stature at the moment. Big Texan full forward, self-explanatory. I think he's been the best key in the comp this season. Used to hate him, but I actually like him now ever since he became a meme. And finally, in the last forward pocket, I've gone Zach Bailey. Extremely underrated. That I think it was this week when he put on an absolute clinic against the D's. Yeah. Pressure acts, goals, disposals, setting things up, just everything. Bloke's an absolute weapon. Their team is absolutely stacked. I honestly think they're a shout of the flag this season. And yeah, followers, Gorney in the ruck. I'd probably go Nick Nat second, but another thing that led me to Gorney was the fact that Nick Nat can't really play out full games these days because of his knees. And then the Bont and Parrish as the followers. I think our midfielders were the exact same cork. And then interchange, Ollie Wines, just an absolute contested beast. Think he deserves a spot, career best season. Took Miller, another underrated midfielder. I was tossing up him, Walsh and Merritt, and went took Miller because I like him more. And then I thought I had to get one defender in there, so I got Luke Ryan. It would have been him or Darcy Moore. And then finally Petrarca. Petrarca and Dusty was also a toss-up for who got the start, but I think Dusty spends more time in the forward line, so put him in there.
Yeah, fair enough. They're a very, very good team. 3 Port players, so you controlled yourself, I'd say. It's fair. They are.
Actually, I could have put Robbie Gray and Butters in there, but
yeah, would have left the podcast by now if you'd done that. I'm scared if Brody listens to this because no Harry Mackay or Walsh so far, but yeah, he can cop it. Rowie, what's your team, mate?
Alrighty, so in similar fashion to you boys, I'll kick it off with a Tommy Stewart and the back pocket. He's going to get a 3 from 3 there. He's obviously unreal for them. Just the amount of things he does in a game, whether it's intercept marking or, switching the play up or rebounding 50s, he just does it all really, or taking kick-outs or whatever. At fullback, I'm going to have Stephen May. He's obviously been unreal for Melbourne this year in their defence with Jake Lever, who's going to be the other back pocket. Those two have been a huge reason why teams can't score huge scores against the Ds, and then obviously why the Ds end up winning just about all their games this year. So the half-back line, the 2 flankers, I'm going to have Daniel Rich and Christian Salem, obviously pretty similar to you boys. Meters gain and ball use is obviously a huge factor there, and both of those two are just about the best in the comp at it. And Harris Andrews is going to be my centre half-back. He's just an absolute freak. We talked about him when we did our redraft of 2014, and the fact that a random bloke picked in the 60s has come out of that as by far the best player. He's going to be in so many All-Australians in the years to come. He's an absolute weapon. In the midfield, obviously this is what causes the controversy, the All-Australian. But so I'll go. My first winger is going to be Hugh McCluggage. He's obviously played a bit of inside midfield time this year with Lachie Neale out, but I'm going to have him on the wing because he's still, I guess, classified as a winger. He's obviously an incredible player. Was also the top of his redraft year, and he's just an absolute supreme user by foot. He's one of those guys that can get 20 odd touches but be best on ground, which I think is just about one of the most valuable players in the AFL this year, and also a proven goal kicker or point kicker. Jack McRae is also going to be on the other wing, which is obviously very controversial, but of the midfielders I've got starting on field, he's probably the most outside. I know he's not even an outside player, but he's copped winger every year. He's made All-Australian, I think, so he's just going to have to live with it. But I've got to have him on there because not only does he get 30 plus touches every single week, but he actually uses it really well. His possession by foot is elite. He's the type of player I really, really would love to have at St Kilda. He'd be top 5 in the comp if I had to choose players to bring in. But he's an absolute awesome user of the ball and a contested ball freak. In the middle, in the centre line there, I'm going to have the Bont. Obviously, Hammer, you touched on it. He's very, very noticeable every single game he plays, especially this year, considering he's not getting tagged for some reason. But he's just having a career best year. And it's a joy to watch, really, when he's up and firing because he's just about the best player in the comp. Let's continue the controversy here at the half-forward flank. On one of them, I've got Darcy Parish as if he was still playing forward. So we're just going to stick him in there because I think he's obviously shown how ridiculously good he is in that midfield. So we'll act as if he's starting in the forward flank and attending every centre bounce in this team. The other flank, I've got someone similar style in Christian Petrarca. Obviously, an attacking midfielder there, a goal kicker, got those Dusty Martin traits, and obviously having another really good year, showing he's going to be an awesome player for the Ds for the years to come. And I'm going to have Tex at centre half forward there. It's funny for someone to have a breakout year when they're just about to retire, but he's well and truly had a breakout year. He's been awesome. So, unfortunately, he dropped off a little bit in the last few weeks, but he's still in 2 behind Mackay in the lead for the Coleman, so that's really good for him and would have been ahead by about 10 if he kicked straight on the weekend. The forward pockets, I've got Toby Green and Tipper, McDonald, Tipper and Woody. I think he's been awesome for the Dons this year. His pressure and his awesome goal sense around goals is really, really vital for them. And obviously Toby Green, like you, Hammer, is one of my favourite players in the comp. I don't get why everyone hates him because the game's so much better when he's up and firing and doing his usual things. And I'll give a shout out to Mackay. I'll put him at full forward in this team just because Hawkins has had slightly less goals this year. I think by about 13 or so. So obviously Hawkins does a lot more with the ball and around the ground, but I'll have to give it to Mackay here. Just, he's obviously averaging over 3 a game, and it's what you want from your tall forward. We'll let Tex do Hawkins' job. In the ruck line, I've got Gawn, obviously, just an absolute animal. The Hashim Amla styled head. The 2 rovers are going to have Clayton Oliver and Jared Lyons. Obviously, Oliver's Brownlow contention, having an awesome year. He got obviously heavily criticised. I think it was last year or the year before for, I think someone labelled him as just about a liability when he's got ball in hand and using it by foot. He's obviously turned all that around and proven them all wrong, and he's just an absolute freak. And then Jared Lyons is just week in, week out, Mr. Consistent. He definitely deserves a spot in the starting middle. On the bench, I'm going to go someone we haven't actually mentioned yet, but I've really liked this year. I've tried to sort of go 1 defender, 2 mids, and 1 sort of half forward, half mid. So the defender I've gone is actually going to be Bailey Dale. I think he's been awesome for the Dogs. Obviously, the Dogs are second on the ladder, so you've obviously got to shine a bit of light on the good players of the good teams. So I think Dale, coming off the half-back line for them this year, has been awesome. He's obviously one of the best kicks in the comp, which is really, it's just what we all want to see from the half-back flankers. All the best ones have these elite kicks, and he's certainly one of them. And now he's, pretty regularly racking up 20-plus touches and provides good run off that half-back. So I think he was too good to leave out. In the middle, of the midfielders on this bench are going to be Ollie Wines, obviously a contested ball freak for Pilch. The big square-headed man. I can't leave him out, obviously. I was tossing up between him and Took Miller, but I think it went to Wines because of the success that Port are having over the Suns. That's obviously a big factor in the All-Australian team. The other one I'm going to go with Cam Guthrie, who's obviously had a really good year for the Cats. He's obviously pretty underrated, but with Danger out of that midfield for most of the year and a few of the other blokes getting injured here and there, Guthrie's been the one that stood out with a few really, really good matches, especially that one. I think it was against Hawthorn. He had about 40 plus touches. He's shown that he's a really quality midfielder and that he really shouldn't be overlooked too much more and be the shadow of all these Geelong players because he's right up there with the best and probably leading their best and fairest this year. And then I'll have Dane Zorko as the last man on that bench as that sort of half forwardish type of player. He's obviously been really good for the Lions this year, ironically in that midfield. But, you can see him laying lots of tackles every week and he's obviously got proven scoring potential. And yeah, just a really, really good player. So yeah, a few honourable mentions. I feel bad for leaving these blokes out. Took Miller. I had Shai Bolton in there, but in order to get Parrish in there, I had to take him out. And then like the likes of Jacob Wiedering, obviously Hawkins, Libba, Sammy Walsh, Jack Steele, and one that was talk that just hasn't even been mentioned this year by anyone is Brandon Starcevich for the Lions. He's actually been one of the best lockdown players in the AFL, if not the best. I think I read something where he's kept his opponent every week to like under 2 goals or 1 goal or something ridiculous. But yeah, I'll try and find that after the potty or during it because I looked at those numbers. I thought, holy shit, how have I not seen this bloke? But yeah, he's actually proven to be a really good player. Not quite, obviously, good enough with his other areas of his game purely just because he's been a really good lockdown player to get into this team. But yeah, I think he's been really good for them and he's a really good honourable mention.
Yeah, interestingly, no Sydney players. I had Dawson, but that was it. Considering they're 6th, but that's kind of the way Sydney are, I guess. They're just a
Luke Parker tempting.
No. He's not even in the top 15, mate. Midfield. Come on. But no, there's some good ones. Yeah, Rowie mentioned a lot of ones who just missed out for me because my last couple of picks were based on the good teams because I know that the All-Australian team usually features like 3 or 4 of the top 3 sides. So Guthrie was really close, but I went Duncan and then Dale was close. But I just backed in McRae. So yeah, I wrote a list of all the Pilch. Did you have McRae, by the way?
No, left him out.
Yeah, right. So there was a list of 8 that made all 3 teams. It was Stewart, Rich, Bont, Parrish, Petrarca, Tex, Toby Green, and Oliver. So I think we did pretty well there, boys. That's a pretty solid list. Rowie, when you mentioned Tipper, I just realised my fantasy Premier League name like 2 years ago was Tipper's Tree Stump, and I was that the next 2 minutes you were talking, I was trying not to piss myself at the thought of it, but the thought of Tipper's Tree Stump.
Mate, that was not 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
that was like
probably back in school.
Ago.
Yeah, that was legit in school, actually, now I think about it. All right, so I think we've done well there, boys. Not too much controversy. Hopefully, Brody is satisfied that you've picked Mackay and doesn't have a crack. Yeah. But all right, looking at the most improved and Brownlows now, I'll start us off as I started us off for the All-Australian. I've got a few here. I've got some that are like high up in my Brownlow, and then I've got some like more value picks who were just dirt, like dog shit last year and now actually decent. So the ones who are up there for my Brownlow are Darcy Parish and Ben Keys. Obviously, Darcy Parish will be up there in the legit Brownlow, but Ben Keys is actually up there for me. Partly due to Adelaide not having too many good players. He seems to get 3 or 4 votes every time they play well. So he's coming like 8th for me in my Brownlow. And Darcy Parish is 4th. So yeah, they're 2 of the most improved. And then others to mention, Aaron Hall. I think at times in the past he's been dropped by North Melbourne, which is saying something. Last year he would hardly even get noticed in games, and now he's playing a different role, and his skills are definitely on show. He's always been a very skillful player, and he's playing a role that suits that now. So he's definitely up there. And another one is Jack Henry. Definitely me and Pilch's man. I'm not sure if Kyle Langford's your actual man, but Jack Henry's your man from way back, mate. We used to laugh at his head at all times in his debut season, but yeah, he's actually a decent player now, so I can't really hate on him. I think there was an article on the AFL website saying he'd be in the headline was like he should be in everyone's All-Australian team, so yeah, he must be having a really good year. But
shit call from whoever made that headline.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw the headline. But yeah, Rowie, who's your most improved, mate?
I've got a few. The likes of Bailey Dale, I think, is one that I included in my All-Australian team. Obviously, he started out his career as a pretty damaging goal scorer, but sort of faded away, and now off the halfback, he looks very settled. Obviously, the likes of Nick Hind as well. We mentioned him earlier in our trade wrap-up. Took Miller in that midfield. I think he was already a pretty good player for them, but just I think he's taken his game to the next level. Darcy Parish is obviously a clear one as well in the absence of Shield and now McGrath and Heppel moving to the back line. Parish has just absolutely become the player that we all wanted him to be and racking up some ridiculous numbers. Tex as well. It's obviously a bit funny to say that because he's coming to the twilight of his career, but he's obviously been very good and added a lot more strings to his bow. And Benny Keys as well, Hammer, that you mentioned, was also having a very good year. I remember it was his draft year. I think it was a huge super coach prospect. He was an absolute ball magnet in when he was coming through as an 18-year-old, but never really cracked it into that Brisbane team and got delisted. But was stoked when he got picked up by Adelaide, and now he's obviously playing really good footy. He's obviously a really exciting midfielder. So really loving where his career's headed. And CJ Jarth as well for Hawks has been really good for them coming off halfback. So yeah, just really a lot of halfbackers. Obviously, the new rules of this year help with that, but it's obviously helped form or at least advance the careers of a few of these players. So I think those are some pretty good standouts.
Yeah, shout out to Scrim as well. He's actually playing pretty well. But yeah, Ben Keys, I reckon, don't know how it would impact him if he came back into the side, but I think Matt Crouch's absence has definitely helped him. And I think Adelaide might realise that Matt Crouch is expendable, as Keys is probably a replacement that adds more impact to the game and gets just about as many touches, and he also has a lot of tackles and pressure acts and stuff. So, yeah, great shout, that one. Pilch, most improved, mate?
Yep, so if we look at strictly most improved from last season to this season, there's only one man, and that's Peter Laddams. Jokes. Big Texan by an absolute mile, in my opinion.
Get fucked.
I know the Big Texan has produced a similar level to this like 5 years ago when he was a gun, but the bloke was arguably the worst player in the AFL last season, and now he's the number.
That's very stiff.
And now he's the number one key forward in the comp. So that's how I've looked at it, and the Big Texan will be receiving my most improved, not best and fairest.
Yeah, I love Pulse with all my heart, but he was still AFL contracted last year, so I will say that with your comment about the text. But no, I love you, Pulse. Yeah, all right, into our Brownlows. I actually didn't say my true most improved because he is my Brownlow winner. Obviously, controversial fashion. It's always got to be controversial with my voting system. Well, it was in my All-Australian, and I don't think there were too many eyebrow raises there. So we'll go from 4 to 1. So fourth is Darcy Parish. Nah, fuck off, mate. Fourth is Darcy Parish on 26 votes. And I'll have you know, boys, this year the voting is absolutely wild. Last year, the winners of my Brownlow, I know it was 18 rounds, but they had 34 votes. So these guys are almost better than last year's winners. Parish, 26. Bont, 27. Clayton Oliver, 29. And it is actually Tom Liberatore on 30 votes. I think he is polled in just about every single Western Bulldogs game, purely due to his contested possession and clearance beastness, basically. He basically wins those stat categories every week, and that is a huge reason why he's up there. Also, tackling machine. He's played so well to the point, if this isn't an indicator of how well he's played, not saying he is the best player in the comp, but an indicator of how well he's played is he's actually started to get tagged the last 2 weeks. So, and that's over someone like Bontempelli, which is pretty outrageous. I can't lie. I don't know why people don't tag Bont, as you mentioned, Roy. I swear when they tagged him in the second half on the weekend, he actually went missing. But yeah, I don't know. I would be tagging Bont. But yeah, it shows how good Liver's been playing. And yeah, someone who doesn't get any love from the doggies doesn't deserve the Brownlow. But yeah, here's my Brownlow with 30 votes from 10 games. So an average of three votes a game, which is pretty incredible. So, Rowie, what's your Brownlow, mate?
I'll go with a couple of blokes that I think a few more people would have over Tom Liberatore. I'll name the two guys that I'm very, very thankful are in my Supercoach team because I can't split them really. So Clayton Oliver's another one. He's obviously been huge for the D's. There's obviously a lot of blokes who can steal votes off him, but yeah, at the end of the day, he's probably right up there getting the maximum votes every week. He's just obviously that absolute animal in the midfield. And that game against Adelaide was, I think you talked about it earlier today, Ham, was just one of the best games we've seen by anyone since stats were recorded.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. And he just showed just how good of a midfielder he is in this elite sport. And the other one is the other top of the table midfielder in Bont. So I think he's obviously probably just having about a career best season. Obviously thriving in that midfield. It's good to see. Well, obviously not good to see. It's good to see him thriving, given the fact that there are a few less blokes than we anticipated in there. Obviously, I think a lot of us were thinking he might get swung forward a lot this year with Treloar and Dunkley and everyone else in there, but obviously those two have gone down. So Bont's been in there primarily for the whole season, which has been handy for the aestheticness of the game to watch Bont in there with his raking left boot out of the midfield, but also for everyone's super coach, all those that have him. So it's been awesome to have those two, and I just honestly can't split them for the Brownlow. I'm going to have them tied at the moment. I think they've both been awesome. Obviously helps they're both in the two best teams of the comp at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to have those two as my Brownlow leaders.
Yeah, definitely good shouts. Just to highlight how cooked that Clayton Oliver game, I was looking at the stats before. So intercept possessions, he had like 9 intercept possessions playing inside midfield. Like, I don't know what he was actually doing, but that stat is like always won by halfbacks who just like a Darcy Moore or someone. And yeah, he just randomly had 9, which is like ridiculous amount in general, but let alone for an inside bid. Pilch, mate, who do you have winning the Brownlow? Is it going to be Peter Laddams or Carl Amon or someone else this year?
Nah, so I just need to clarify, is this a prediction or is this who I think is leading it right now?
Go with who you think is like deserves it, like who you think has been the best and fairest to this point.
Okay, to this point, Clayton Oliver for me. The Bont's probably a close second. But Clayton Oliver's gone to another level again, which I did not expect. I thought last year was his peak and that he'd drop back a little bit this season, but he's done the complete opposite, which has hurt my Supercoach team. But yeah.
Do you reckon he's leading the Brownlow as well at this point?
Well, yeah, that's what I've based it off.
It's going to be tough with Petrarca and Gorm, but he's played that well. I reckon he's going to be right up there. I do have to say, I think Darcy Parish is a genuine smoky for the Brownlow, though, just because he plays for Essendon. Like, apart from Zach Merritt, I don't see too many people taking votes off him, and Essendon have been winning a lot of games. So I think they talk about it, the best range to win the Brownlow is when your team finishes between 9th and 14th. So I know Clayton Oliver and Bont are better than a lot of past Brownlow winners, but yeah, apparently that's a stat that actually exists. So who knows how Patrick Cripps hasn't won it yet based off that stat. But anyway, appreciate it as always, boys. Been a good episode. Proud of myself for not picking an outrageous All-Australian team. Shout outs to Jack Lukosius, and we'll see you guys next week. Go Port, go Saints, go the Blues.